I hope that you can all hear us loud and clear. I would like to welcome you to the hot seat between enthusiasm and concern, AI and the future of industry. The hot seat is already so hot that the players are not actually sitting but standing because the seat is so hot. Let's start off on the far left for you to be able to understand who's here. We met on a purpose because all the persons here are involved in IIP Ecosphere, which is a large-scale project which has been up and running for a couple of years in order to zoom in on data spaces and AI in the future of industry. It's a very important topic. How are production processes going to be developed in the future? This is what we see on this occasion as well. We will have ever more interconnected data systems. Suppliers are going to cooperate more than ever before, and they've got to find new formats in order to exchange information with each other. This is what we'd like to discuss in this group. To your far left, Dr. Dominic Crawford from LNI 4.0, Dr. Alexander Brosch from the VDW, and Marco Ross from ASFIN. I'm coming from the German Research Center for Artificial Intelligence. I'm the deputy chairperson for research. We're not doing basic research, but in my department, we focus on smart enterprise engineering. We do not really develop basic concepts for AI, but, and this is why I fit in very nicely in this group of persons, we try to roll out AI in the companies, in the supply chain, in the business models, because we want to be able to keep pace and not be left behind. Before we talk about different ideas and theories, let me ask you to provide us with a general statement. What's the current state of play concerning AI? What's your take on that? What's your position? Dominic, would you like to start off? Yes. Thank you very much, Jan. Good morning. I'm delighted to see that so many of you have joined us. Dominic Gomez. I work with Siemens for more than 20 years. I work in the factory and production, and LNI is a non-profit organization which was supported by the Ministry of Economics. It's the oldest association. We're a non-profit organization, neutral. We operate test beds and try to establish a transfer to AI adaptations. And this is what we discussed during the entire EMO again and again. On-premise Insider has been in existence for decades. Let me talk about inspection measurement systems, machines and equipment, plant manufacturers who, of course, when they set up their devices, have to do measurements. And this is why AI systems are being used if they exist numerically. And this is what we call automation, the best possible scenario. So you get the best possible out of it, block analysis, and now you try to do it better with the help of AI, and you detect another error, and that's as far as it goes. Do you increase productivity? Do you get better OEE? Normally you don't. You have to look at the entire system. When we talk about data, AI needs data, digital twins. Alexander will elaborate on that in a minute. I'm not going to do that, Alexander. And the data have to be made available in the right quality at low costs. If it's a major investment at the beginning, only the big players will go for that. And I said it already at the very beginning. AI is a breakthrough. Let me give you the fact and figures of the German Statistical Association. We've got 3.8 million companies, and 800,000 are producing industrial products, 6,000 in general. And, you know, we don't want to go into the nitty-gritty, but this is a really significant number of factories that we have to reach out to. And Alexander, we have to try to contact them with the help of the digital twin. We have to reach out to them in the field of digitization. So all in all, we have to bring a cultural change. We have to make money, develop new business models. That is what we will try to achieve. That's my initial statement. Thank you very much. Now let's move over to Alexander, because you made mention of him already in connection with digital twins. What's the current state of play? Are we competitive in this regard? Good morning to the participants. My name is Alexander Broos. I'm the head of research and technology at the VDW. This is the Association of German Machine and Equipment Manufacturers. The title goes to show that we've been in existence for quite some time, much longer than LNI. Since 1891, we have represented the interests of the German mechanical engineers. And of course, we try to get the best possible scenarios out of AI. How can we use AI in order to see to the SMEs which have machines there? Now they had to familiarize themselves with control. Now they have to familiarize themselves with digitalization, and they don't have to learn AI because they simply want to use it. How much can we get out of it at the end of the day? Can I make a bit more money with the help of AI? And if I use it, will the €1 that I make extra remain in my pocket? We take a very close look at that, and we were also involved in the project AIP Ecosphere. We carried out a survey which was very interesting. If we want to use AI and train it, I need a lot of data. Normally, we don't have enough data available from a single production process because it's too heterogeneous. So at best, we need to share data, and only 70% of the factories interviewed tell us, well, I'd like to get access to shared information, but only 20% of the factories are saying, well, I'm willing to share data. So we have to go back to square one because the confidence, the trust is missing. And with everything we do, I think there are more than good technical solutions available. But we have to make sure that the use cases can be developed in such a way that people trust each other and nobody will get the feeling of being ripped off. Thank you very much. Back to your initial statement, what's quite striking is that it reminds us of the entire climate situation. We want to have solar and wind, but not in my backyard, you know. It's a great thing. I want cheap electricity, but not in my backyard. That's a bit strange, isn't it? Mirko, yes. Confidence and trust is a good buzzword. My name is Mirko Buzz. I'm the CEO of Aswind based in Stuttgart. We're not that old. We were founded in 2018, but the advantage is that we don't have that much of a legacy and start off afresh with AI. At Aswind, we really deal with security and trust of AI systems. Why is this so exciting? We talk about trust and confidence. Which data can I rely on? Can I trust my business partner? Can I trust my supplier? And can I believe the statement made by the AI system? This is a lesson that we have to learn. That is about to be learned, to be precise. Recently received a statement. I think all of you have used ChatGPT already. This is the big AI system, kind of a wake-up call that was also covered in a study. The statements made by ChatGPT are not that longer credible any longer. So 1 year ago, people tried it out and tested it. The answer was, it was great, but now the reply will be, well, it's not that great any longer. Of course, we can't afford to go into that direction in our industry because we don't want to lack specificity. Today, we talk about precision. Now, we come along with AI and we say, well, precision, 99%. It doesn't work that way, you know. We've got to learn how to use other things in our industry, and this has got to do a lot with a shift of paradigms. Shift of paradigms are always very important. You prepared a statement for us, and let me read it out to you. With AI, we make the same mistakes that we did when the software industry began. That's quite a remarkable statement, which fits in very nicely, because in Germany, we have not managed, with the exception of SAP, to become big players in the software market. We didn't manage to go that way. What is this attributable to? Why is that so? And with a view to the future, of course, things that failed can hardly be remedied. Now, what are you different compared to the software industry a long time ago? Well, the errors of the software industry, what were they? One thing was that the companies had to realize that the operating costs and the investments that had to be made were much higher than originally anticipated at the PowerPoint software program. And this is part of every business model. When I see predictive maintenance at trade fairs like this, it's all wonderful. You might think that these are the low-hanging fruits, but in reality, this is the best possible for performance, because when you come up with a predictive model, let me be mean, it's not so difficult. But turning this into a business model is quite difficult because many different factors have to be taken into account that our customers use. And what's equally important is that you've got to ensure that added value can be created throughout the entire life cycle. And we do the same mistake with regards to AI. You don't simply come up with a predictive maintenance model. You receive the data, Dominic, everything's fine. All the customers provided their information of top quality. Wonderful. I set up the model. I've got the best possible predictive maintenance model of all times. Now I've used it in the company. We train it further. What's the quality of the data? As good as the data was in the beginning? Is it suitable for my model? Then you might realize that the quality becomes poorer and poorer. Some clients drop out. There are some errors which are made. The models become poorer. And if the statements become poorer, why should the clients pay for that? So there are different issues which all of a sudden have to be addressed by the companies. If you already have problems with predictive maintenance as of today, that's my theory, compare it to software, I don't know how to do it better in order to make it work. Then AI is not the best possible solution. You will make the same mistakes again in the field of AI. I'd like to elaborate on that very briefly, if I may. All three of us are idealist about this topic. What's very important to me is that we don't really share the negative news, but we have to be realistic. In all parts of the world, in the US, in Asia, there are good examples that go to show that AI and data systems help you make money in a short period of time. The odd is that they have to be scaled rather quickly, and then it's possible to make money rather quickly and use the right business model. In the field of mechanical engineering, there's heterogeneity and fragmentation. We've got 100,000 individual solutions by rule of thumb. In special mechanical engineering, you always have your own engineering supply chain. Now, you're the Müller company, and as of today, you're using these engineering tools for that particular machine. And tomorrow, you will be using them for a different machine. Deliberately, you're using a different engineering cost, licensing costs. It might be attributed to the end user, to the rules and regulations, state provisions. There are various sections such as aerospace or the pharmaceutical industry or the field of mobility, food, where all of a sudden the level of fragmentation is very high and therefore scalability is a major problem. That's what we need to focus on. These extremely necessary technologies, how can they be developed? We're not talking about AI, do we need it, yes or no? But the question is, how can we scale it in such a way in mechanical engineering in Germany and Europe in order to be more profitable, increase profitability, quality, reduce costs, and make the system scalable for whichever business model you use. So we shouldn't talk about use cases, but the commercial application which needs to be scalable, and that is really what it all boils down to. I'd like to add to that, if I may. I'm really fully on your page. In the field of AI, one of the key questions is, who's got more data to build up models? I remember when we had discussions saying, well, the Amazons or the Googles of the world or the Microsofts of the world are not that dangerous because they don't have the domain know-how. This was one of our assumptions. But the mistake that we made was, of course, they don't have domains, but they can build universal models. They don't need to have a domain. They have got enough data in order to build universal models. That is why the AI people who think, well, we've got domain know-how, and this is the basis on which we can build small models, have a problem because you don't really need it. There are universal models in the Google Cloud, for example. There you go. That's all you need. In mechanical engineering, you only have a good opportunity if, well, I'm very much in favor of open source. We need an open source for AI. Mechanical engineering will only have the possibility of building specific models if open source can be used and shared. Particular topics, foundational models have to be built together. So you need to provide data. If that doesn't happen, mechanical engineering will come second because other players will come first, having all the data. And with regards to value added, they have a much better say they're in a much better position. And which companies are joining in there? Not everybody is willing to participate in that because not everybody is going to be profitable. Thanks very much. That's correct. Back to trust and confidence. Now, let me just share this idea with you. Software is an incomplete revolution. And despite or because of AI, it will continue to be incomplete. Where is that coming from? In 2002, one of the founders of the internet from the MIT wrote a book saying software systems are great, the internet is great, nice to have, but the system make it necessary that we adjust to the systems and the systems don't have to adapt to us. We once had a similar event, but there was a gentleman sitting in the audience who said, well, I'm a small producing factory. AI process optimization works. That's fine. But what is truly missing are systems that turn the data that I have into my reporting obligations for CO2 emissions to Brussels. Why are these systems not available? Some people might say, well, we don't have the business cases, but maybe they're not profitable enough. Maybe there is a lack of confidence and trust. So I'm very critical. I don't know whether we will actually get there. I don't know whether these systems will really be used in a scalable fashion in mechanical engineering, where we talk about the technical details. ChatGPT as a large language model is based on text. There are so many texts available, but the entire know-how is missing. Without domain know-how, you can do a lot, but you can't set up a machine for mechanical engineering because there are many things which go far beyond digitization. And here I'm quite skeptical with regards to the brave new world that we're talking about. Will it also be possible for the small mechanical engineer or SMEs? Back to what Dominic said. He said things are already up and running, and China and in other regions of the world, they are doing it much better. They are getting their business model out on the road. Why does it work in those regions of the world and not over here? Is this the specific German Angst culture, or what is this attributable to? It has nothing to do with the power of innovation. It's attributable to skilled workers. It's not chivalry to say that a business model has to be developed in a targeted manner if the end user is Airbus. I'm putting it that way because, these systems have to be reproducible for the entire life cycle that we have to deal with in the field of mechanical and engineering. Life cycle. A standard tool-making machine can be used for 30 to 40 years. And also the big players have difficulties in deciding which technology to use. That is the OT problem. IT can come up with a big quantum leap every 3 years or so. Is it ITK or MQTT? That is the transportation protocol that we use. Now we have a Docker container. I don't know whether containers are the end of the story. In my professional career, I had to sign a warranty contract after 70 years. The warranty lasted 100 years for a product. In the world of IT, that is completely inconceivable. What else do we have to develop and preserve it for 50 years? This is a discussion that we have with regards to software, also here at EMO. Even the big serial machine manufacturers such as Trumpf, Demori, and others, this is a discussion that is ongoing. Another topic is even more important, though. We are in the middle of this IoT bubble. It started off with mobile phones. Now autonomous systems were joining in. We're talking about replication. For that, we need digital twins, digital representations of the physical world. And for autonomous systems, we won't get anywhere without AI. I don't know of any task force that managed to break it down. We've got to program it with the help of AI. This is how we can move forward, Alexander. With regards to control programming, when we have to develop complex machines, when it's about commissioning, when we have to service the machines, when it comes to second life, after 5 years, we have a standard machine that comes back. Some parts are being replaced. The rigidity of the steel model is still okay. But this transition, this manual development, which takes us into that direction, means that the machines will become 30 years old. And then, digital shift will have to be introduced. This is where AI will have to be used. But how can we sell it to the SMEs? I don't really know. This brings us back to trust and confidence, because the more control I delegate, the more I have to trust in the system that is doing the right work. Mr. Eichelberger, who just delivered a presentation, shows us that there is a demonstration of the IIP ecosphere. How much of the demonstration code came from AI? Yesterday, when you presented it, I thought it was revolutionary. We said, well, we can have the AI do the coding, but at the end of the day, it's bullshit in, bullshit out, and the problem needs to be resolved in one way or another. 85% with regards to precision milling in production processes, 85% are nice to have, but that's not the final result that we want to accomplish. That a percentage of AI programs, the codes, really matter. But we have to gain more speed. I'm the moderator, therefore I don't want to share my ideas with you. I'm not supposed to, but I have an idea. Companies are not willing yet to pay for AI, and people are even less willing to use it. And that's my idea. The workforce. Is it willing to adjust to the fact that the world of work has changed profoundly because based on AI, many more codes can be produced, they can be maintained more quickly, much more has become possible. But does it really work? You can also make many more errors because you don't really understand what the system is doing. Maybe I don't even understand. Or as Holger said, you might get something out of it and all of a sudden the ghosts because you don't really know what's happening. Therefore, you lose control and you're caught up in the trap and then you might capitulate because the system is too complicated.
Well, Mirko, I think that is the answer. It is not about knowing whether you use AI or not. Not at all. Most of the people use AI because they go into detail, have something translated. Doesn't matter really. The decisive thing is, do I have a better user experience? Can I alleviate the machine user, low code and no code? We remember that was happening. Can I alleviate service work? Can I keep the same service level although my workers all retire? So with the know-how they have, knowing, well, when the machine goes on ticking, I can work. What about soft machining, soft metal machining? Now I get a copper assignment. Can I have that on the machine? What about the ball bearing? What about the sliding bearing? Do I have to do other maintenance? Do I have other maintenance issues? I have 30 people, 40 machines. I'm rather narrow. I've got a rather narrow situation there anyway. So AI is similar than the old operators. They've done other alloys and now they do copper. Well, and the old guys are gone at some point. Where should the new guys get the experience? Yes, and you want to move things through the machine. You want to make money. AI serves the purpose of us earning money. Yes, and the question is wrong here. We're not discussing whether Python or C+ is inside the machine. Doesn't matter. The decisive thing is we clamp parts. I have a certain requirement to chip something off, to cut it in a certain period of time, in a certain quality, and that's why we have CNC milling machines, and that's why we don't do it manually. And with AI, it's exactly the same thing. It's simply a different thing. It's layout that probably brings us productivity gains. And for me, the biggest issue is not necessarily will I get 1/10 of a second more parts that I push through. It's the lack of qualified staff. How many untrained operators can I put next to the machine, knowing that the quality comes out of it will be exactly the same in a certain period of time? And I know there is some kind of error in the machine that the operator is in a position to remedy that problem, maybe with a rubber hammer that's there, not with a metal hammer. Those are the classic questions. So that this guy pretty quickly knows how to do it. And since it's complex machining processes, it's quite an issue. We are no longer treating standard parts. It's batch size 1 very often. So that's why the working steps will be different. We've tried to depict it in a process manner. I know all the operating manuals. It's ever so tiresome. And, which SME is supposed to do it. No one can do it. It's just too costly. And if you extrapolate what the part costs, is just too costly. Well, with AI, you actually stand a chance. You can do batch size 1 production. You can do it with people who are untrained or less trained or who are trained quicker or can jump around between individual types of machines. Maintenance, okay, so if you can do that, if AI says, yeah, okay, that's fine, Dominic, just use the rubber hammer in the left, in the rear, just push that, that's fine. And that's the point that I wanted to talk about. Alexander, you'll be the next. That at the end of the day, to people, it doesn't really matter what they operate. With the iPhone, no one asks which cloud is behind it, how is it built up, what kind of materials does it consist of. At the end of the day, customer use, customer benefit is a key. If it runs well, you're more productive, it's simpler. That's the thing you want to go for. And that's the same thing that we see. People say, oh, AI, it's a tricky issue and what's behind it. But at the end of the day, today, no one is interested as to whether with Word or DeepL, as you just said, Dominic, what actually happens there. Most of the people don't matter. Maybe 1% is interested in it. Well, in the industry, this is not true 100%. Legally and business-wise, it is not completely irrespective. We would love to use blockchain all over the place, but European legislation doesn't allow us because warranty needs to be going in there. Private matters doesn't matter, but if you have to give a warranty for 30 years, you provide deliveries 30 years globally, and you want to provide reproducible quality, and you produce a tool, unfortunately, legally speaking, that's not possible. And we haven't even talked about the rules and regulations, Alexander. That comes on top. A couple of things are moved forward. For a couple of things, it's positive, but you don't necessarily earn money. Sometimes it's just a cost problem, but it moves forward digital twins and semantic information models, data creation and awareness. But the question is whether you can earn in another position. Each SME has a problem. They hire one person today who is just shoveling around papers. In my former industry, people always asked, can I replace people by automation? Maybe you don't have to be as strict, but can I avoid to hire one person one paper pusher through clever system? I'm sorry, Alexander, but be careful, be careful. You can't say that. Yes, you're right. It's not correct. But from the point of view of the system, this is not productive. The person doesn't provide added value. So from a user point of view, you have an algorithm. Whether that was revolutionary or not, we can do that, but let's take one step back. The people who integrate it and make it workable make a promise. They sell a machine, and as you said, unfortunately, with a machine, you say liability and warranty. So that needs to be assumed. With software, very often that's not the case. And in IoT ecosphere, we had a process where 40,000 training runs were simulated for a machine, and so you had 40,000 runs. How can we have a situation where big control manufacturers offer systems that can be adapted as easily as possible to the process without having the training data available, because we don't dare to handle data adequately? Well, the problem, it's quite a nice depiction, but with AI, we are actually seeing a change of paradigm. Software works in a procedural manner. Everyone who programs CNC machines knows there are bugs, there are errors. Should have worked that way, but it doesn't work that way. So you find the error and then it works. Now AI systems are statistics machines. That's an important hint. So in research, we are dealing with AI forensics. We want to know, why has AI made this statement? And if I ask the same question, I get a slight variation of an answer. With ChatGPT, you can try that out. Ask the same question twice, and you will see the answer is never the same. It will vary. And the question is, when you want to understand it, it's okay if I'm happy with it and can live with a variation in an answer. In production industry, you don't want to have variation. Well, maybe you'd call it tolerances. but you have to have specifications, and they are stipulated, and that's what you stipulate legally speaking. But now the important thing is we have an AI-based system, and at some point of time it goes out of tolerance. I want to know why. What's the reason? Why did it leave tolerance? With the software, with the production process, I want to know it. I want to do quality improvement. And there is a difficulty because I maybe can't access it. It's got to do with models and mathematics and lots of deep knowledge. Honestly speaking, we don't have enough experts who can do that. We have a problem there. At the moment, adapted AI makes a lot of sense in many areas, and the lack of labor is key to mention here. In other areas, there are lots of application areas where we can't do it for liability reasons, for quality assurance reasons, and we haven't even talked about regulation that comes on top. AI Act, Data Act, etc. And then we are in a position where no SME can do it, but maybe only with AI, with using AI. If you permit, I would like to briefly refer to what Alexander and Mirko just said. OT and IT. There is a separation between the two. Let's not just talk about it again and make it an issue again. OT has lots of rules and regulations. We have the machine CE labeling. In my professional life, I have seen the public prosecutor coming and threatening you with prison. An SAP staff member probably will never see that. That's probably not happening. But still, let's take an integrational approach, OT and IT. You need to take a all-encompassing approach, and IE is a game changer. So, after Java, we had Python and then JSON, and yeah, that's okay. But now here, AI is game changing. But will we learn something? And what we learn, can we keep that? That's the question. And let's use that for OT and somehow move it into the regulations. I don't know whether Festo is here. They have an 80 milligram product and deliver 1.5 kilograms of paper to go with it because they have to. And they were able to do away with that. And I find that great. Let's, have a more integrative approach for OT and IT. That's really important, Alexander. But then the question to come to the next level of discussion. I was at a packaging company with 40 people, special machine construction. I had two control technology guys who did the PLC. Maybe I could dismiss them because parts of the code will be developed by I know. But how can I take along the machine tool manufacturer from Swabia, small shop? They don't have the tools, they don't have the people. Well, what about web-based training? Mirko, why don't you say it? You can do a lot of self-learning. We learn on the screen. He would be stupid if the two people who do the PLC control a train, if he dismissed those because there is another possibility to work with PLCs. He would be stupid to do so. Yeah, but the third guy, the software guy who does IT only and applications, he can't afford to pay for that guy. Well, the important thing is he can't pay for that because he's too expensive on the market. Professionals, that's our real problem that we have on the market. Not that we build great machines, that we can't do AI. We do not have enough people, as simple as that. And the people who are there are very costly. Very costly. So if I, as an SME, and we're not talking about the small special machine manufacturers, let's just talk about a middle-sized company, 1,500. Where do they get excellent staff? It's really difficult because excellent guys either go abroad, we have to be honest about it, real good guys say, well, there are other regions in the world that are booming, and as an AI engineer, I'll get about $400,000 per year. That's initial payment, and Siemens has a hard time, and the boss says it can't be that he earns more than I do. True. So, it is a fact. I believe that the added value that we have now is not so much in the hardcore technology arena. As you said, can I really build up such an additional production or artificially controlled factory, autonomous factory, but then they need maintenance, and maintenance is not autonomous, and people need to understand quickly how the production process is. Systems need to understand, systems have to tell us where the pain point is, and this is no longer done along the process chain. Software architecture can't solve that. It's only AI, and AI is the only possibility to do it. Yes, but there's no longer any robot without AI. They look at parts and think about how to handle them. Assembly, there's hardly any assembly job where you won't use AI. Instructions are no longer made on paper, put on paper. AI provides the assembly instruction for the hoovers that are done. Yes, but that's image recognition and a large model language. We're far away from technology as such. But it has something to do with productivity gains. And now the decisive thing comes, Dominic. Yes, it is here. And what I would like to do is, I would like to do German tool manufacturers doing it, and not the Chinese ones only, not the Indian ones only, and not the American ones. It's not that it doesn't work or does work. It's important for those who are here, for the ones who are in Germany, that they can have an advantage on the global market. Right, I'd like to ask another question before we turn to the audience. Hyperscaler is an issue. In Germany, we were not able to set up our own hyperscaler. We tried it with Gaia X initiatives. Dominic, you were involved. It was never the idea to build up our hyperscaler. I'm sorry for the interruption. Right, but the public had a bit of a different view. But there is the statement and the expectation that was created in the industry. Maybe that's one reason why there were some problems, some homegrown problems. That's a question that I ask myself, and I would like to get an answer from you or a solution. Do we need hyperscaler in Germany or at least in Europe? Ooh, that train has left the station. I don't find a company that is willing to invest 1 billion per month. ABB has an investment rate of $1 billion per month. I don't know any single company that can do it. It wouldn't be the task of the state. State is there for infrastructure and basic services. I can well imagine that we have state clearinghouse services and check credentials. I would find that meaningful, or at least a cooperative organization. There are first ideas in industry, but I don't find anyone who gives the billion, and the startup financing would be more it's far too late. The question is, how will we do it? Well, we will go the European way. We'll have regulations. I don't want to assess it. It's neither good nor bad, neither black nor white. But it will actually create costs as well. That's my short summary. So you see, no, it's improbable. I don't see anyone who will move that kind of money. We don't have a venture capital culture. You said we won't want to leave it to the Chinese to be leading in AI. And we're talking about regulation. We are in Europe. There was a quote, I don't know by who, said United States wants the best AI, China wants the fastest, and we want the most regulated AI. That's the status quo as it looks like at the moment. And I was in China when we talked about condition monitoring in machines. There's one war room in Shanghai, and from there you were able to switch on 30,000 machines all over the country. China says we have a Chinese firewall, and behind it everything is open, since there is one central state who wants to know everything. And then we come along as the small guys and say, well, I won't even give you 2% of my data because I don't know what you're doing with it. So on the one hand, we have lost the competition because we are far too much in the nitty-gritty detail, but maybe we have to. But I'm fully convinced we need other mechanisms. We are not stupid, nor are we bad. We just have to find out how we handle the situation. And I'm quite hopeful that when it comes to Catena X and Manufacturing X, that we will be able to use systems that are there, but we use them in such a way that they fulfill the level of trust we needed. I'm looking forward to doing that, but I'm with you to say we can't earn as much money. And then we had the pandemic. Now pandemic is over. Now we have a war, and somewhere the money has to come from. One thing on Manufacturing X and Catena X, fortunately, that does exist. And Gaia X, by the way, is also successful. Reason is completely different that you might expect. It's awareness. Now we're talking about it everywhere in society. I don't know whether we would be able to do it in such a systematic area, at least in B2B. We're talking about it. We have a systematic approach. Mirko, I know that we have a possibility with Manufacturing X to have a data economy in the B2B environment for supply chains, that we can prepare that without the initial financing. I don't know whether companies would come together. I have another opinion. You seem to beautify the world that you're in. Question how much the state provides by way of sponsoring instruments and large-scale projects. I don't think that's a solution. They're far too inflexible, not economically feasible. And when we take a look at hyperscalers and see what works, we have a cultural problem. I ask myself, who would be the German DAX company CEO who would have put a couple of billions into a small AI startup? Well, 1986, who would have done that then? 1 billion in 1986 in an AI startup. Google had an initial financing of 100,000 by the ministry, by the military. And Microsoft invested in OpenAI quite massively, which is why the hyperscaler model works. But it's an Anglo-Saxon-based model. I don't see any German board members or CEO of any company that, or female CEOs, I don't even know whether we have them. Anyway, I don't see anyone who would have been courageous enough to do it. And I'm sorry, we are actually so afraid. We are sitting there discussing, oh, what can we do? But really, we are in a bit in our hole here. And we live quite well there, actually, in certain areas. That's fine. But the wind out there is actually a storm, and the storm comes from those guys who have moved that forward for a while. What can we do? I don't think it's sponsoring in this form. Neither Catena X or Gaia X will, from what I believe, have such an impact without marketing and awareness that we can say it moves us forward and it gives competitive edge. I think the solution is us saying, well then, let's work with heterogeneity. In in machine tools, we have lots of SMEs, lots of startups, lots of young companies. Take the billions. How much was Gaia X? Millions. 150. So let's take the 150 million. And Siemens doesn't get anything because they have new research potential, and SAP as well. So let's take this money and let's identify small innovative SMEs, keep them in Europe, give them 1 million, let them stay in Europe and not go to the US. And the great thing would be, let's take a bit more money so that together with other SME, with special machine tool manufacturer in Swabia, that they do something with them together, because they won't have the money nor the help to do that. Let's have small projects. The only thing, it needs to be open source for the European ecosystem, and let it run. Awareness-wise, it would have a similar success like Gaia X, and I believe that it would probably be more impactful. We think the wrong way. I need to mention one thing here. Catena X is a success. Manufacturing X will be a success. And in another meeting, we would need to talk about it again. That's what I would need to state. If it were missing, we would have a big hole. So thank you very much. Now the question to the audience, do you have any questions to the panel members? I don't see anything. That means that we had a good discussion up here. I have one other question here. Mirko, you said, well, we need to keep companies here, we need the fast movers, we want to make AI startups big together with SMEs. That's quite right, but how can we do it in order to look into regulation? How can we make it that they have the framework, that they stay here, not that they move to the States like some startups where there's more venture capital, where some things might happen easier? Well, at important points, we maybe have to remove red tape. I actually agreed to when you said we are too afraid, not on the company side, but in society overall, not just in Germany, but in the whole of Europe, unfortunately. Maybe we have other strengths. Now, don't get me going, because I will never stop. Catena X and Manufacturing X, we would have to do another panel. We can't do that in the next 3 minutes. We won't be able to work through it adequately. Well, I don't see any further questions at the moment, so can I ask you for a positive statement? You said as Germans we should start thinking positively, and maybe we can get a mini conclusion, 1 or 2 sentences. How can we use AI to make us stronger? I believe in our huge innovation power that is there. Be serious about the lack of skilled workforces. Send all your sons and daughters into natural science courses. With my daughter, I was able to do it, and I'm serious. Everyone needs to help. And with all due respect, after such a hype topic, the next fashionable profession comes along. 28% of GDP is machine and industrial production. It's 1/4. I don't want this country to have 1/4 of tourism in our gross domestic product like other countries. I don't want to have that. And regulation, we can't talk about it now. It's got its function, yes, it's right and well, and it does save lives. That's something which you could do. It's what about the machine regulation? That is honestly the case. But it needs to be within certain limits, and I'm a great supporter of reducing red tape. We can't just, give reports and do further and provide lots and lots of paper. It took us 30 years to build the railway link between Munich and Hamburg. We just have to take some risk on board and not just ask the next person on top. And the other one, a wind farm or wind turbine, you need 100 application forms or something. I don't know, but it's just yes, we do have good intentions, but we should place our trust into entrepreneurs and into our innovation power. And it's not me bashing the state. It's the question, how many applications and forms do we need? And I keep asking this question. Thank you, Dominic. Then maybe we can get some final words from Mikko. Well, for the forms, we have AI then. But will AI write the forms and confirms them? Well, maybe the AI will be able to send a fax then. It's completely correct what you're saying. Unfortunately, this is a simple question, but there are no simple answers for it. We are talking to people who are hands-on guys, who are entrepreneurs. Where can you start? Well, you can start with your very own company as a boss, head of production, whatever. Number one, innovation culture needs to be inside the company. When someone comes and say, let's try something out with AI, give this person the possibility and give them the resources to do it. It's highly likely that the result will be that the outcome is not what they promised to get. But you have a culture of innovation, and we had it once upon a time. It's not that we Germans have always been this way. There was a culture of innovation, only it's a kind of it was encrusted in regulation. And then next thing is talk to politicians. A couple of things really important. One thing is the question when it comes to the lack of skilled workforces. We don't have enough people domestically, then we need to move people inside, be an attractive site. Yeah, or motivate our own people, our own children to do it. Well, one of my stuff comes from India. We brought them over from India to Stuttgart. And with the Stuttgart to manage it with a foreign office, then that brings us back to red tape and to paper. I lived in the US. It's a horror to get a visa there that is legal, so they're not much better. Yes, but still, we need to reduce the hurdles, reduce the obstacles, try out the culture of innovation, and we think too much about the risk, but see it as opportunities. The risks are removed by regulations. Yes, we know there are certain risks. We do have people who deal with the risks already. So that's my main message. Just go out and do it. And regulation is an important factor. Do it like you drive a car. You won't just stand still. So at the end, Alexander, over to you. Well, I'm a skeptic, and I'll stay that. The one reason is, yes, I agree to you. We, as regards innovation industry, we're better than we deem ourselves to be. Also, I believe that technical obstacles when it comes to acceptance and use and short term, and because of parameters that won't change in the near future, we run the danger that others will maybe threaten to throttle us. I think it's great that there are entrepreneurs like you who say we step on the pedal and want to do something. We are also such a company, by the way. And I believe the important thing is German SMEs are strong together. We have to go out and do things together. Then we move forward and others can do whatever they like. We'll be able to do it. We were able to do it for the last 150 years. Right, very positive final remarks. So I would like to say thank you very much to you for the attention. It was a great and very interesting discussion with some diverging opinions, which is good because that's the only way you get ideas. Innovation is a competition. Find the best idea and be fair and positive. I like to be the host here. I wish everyone a great day, a successful week on the fair. And we have time for a bit of an exchange afterwards. Thank you very much to everyone, to our audience, and to our panel members. Thank you.